The Andromedans first came here because something happens in the future. And there's a very negative imbalance that occurs in their future. And in tracing it back, they traced it back to our solar system. I don't know if that is still a probability now. We are getting all kinds of help and intervention from many different races. And the reason for that is fascinating, to be perfectly honest with you. And it's probably going to take a little while for it to sit with you, but it's important that I do the best that I can to share this. It is the Andromedan perspective that all of us on this planet are genetic royalty. That inside each one of us, we hold the combined DNA of 22 different extraterrestrial races. Now, all of the speakers have touched upon some of these things over the weekend, and I've sat in the audience with you, and bells would go off all the time. Dr. Cremo made reference to, here's physicality, but something brings it to life. Something creates the DNA. Okay, that's obviously spirit. It's soul. David Wilcock talked about the same thing, of spirit, higher dimensional realms, higher entities coming in and creating a template over life. All of these things are a possibility because God is so incredibly creative. There is no limit to the creativity of the Creator or to us. Now, the Andromedan perspective, and I'm just going to get right into this and then I'll share some stories because I want you to sit with this. The Andromedan perspective is that many of us have already been through this cycle of evolution on a spiritual level. It is their perspective, and this is information that they have received from teachers that they have that are on 9th density, is that on the 11th density, there is a race of beings called the Patal. They're also known as the founders, who created the wormholes and many other things, okay, in our known universe. The Vidya, it's a holograph. Those who created our holograph, the original ones who created our holograph. Apparently, the spiritual evolution of our universe got stuck. Somehow it got stuck. And it was interesting that David Wilcock talked about that last night as well. It is their perspective that this group of Patal left eternity to fall back into the concept of time. And that many civilizations, approximately 21 civilizations, in 3rd density, which are going through the same process we're going through, Patal are on all of those planets. Okay? So now you have highly spiritually evolved beings who came in to time, choosing to forget who they were, stepping into genetic royalty physicality. Now, within that physicality and that genetic makeup that we also have the racial memories of these races. Now, that's profound because when you take a look at the idea that many of these different races come from completely different environments, completely different living habitats and ecosystems, which we'll talk about, there truly is absolutely no limit to what we are and what we can do. The question no longer is, and I agree absolutely 100% with Paula on this, it isn't, are we alone? That question's done. The question is, they're just not. They can't. We will never permanently spiritually evolve third density into fourth and two-fifth if they do the work for us. And that does not mean, and that literally means not everybody's going to graduate on this planet. Okay? But that's okay. We're all soul. We're all spirit. People start over all the time. Okay? The idea here is who wants to? Okay? You all have what it takes. And I'm not only addressing you, I'm also addressing whoever sees this, because these DVDs have a life of their own. Okay? The Andromedans are light blue skinned. They have three sexes, androgynous, male and female. They live in a spiritual community where their lifespan is anywhere from an average of 1,900, 1,800 years to 2,300 years. Some of their race actually live much longer, but that's the average. Their children go to school to what would be the equivalent of our years, 150 to 180 years, where they learn all the sciences, they get all the degrees, and everything that is available as far as knowledge at the moment is taught to them. So when these kids grow up, they are in fact smarter than their parents. And that's called the law of consistency, which is what they practice. All right? They would never, ever consider dumbing down their children so that they could be managed or controlled, because that's sabotaging the race. Okay? So they have all these sciences, they have all this technology. They travel in arcs, or motherships, we would call them. The one that I'm the most familiar with, that I spent 3 months on, is an 800 miles cylindrical sphere that has hundreds of floors. It is much bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. And I have no idea how they do that. I still don't know. But even their scout craft are bigger on the inside than they are on the outside. They have these enormous parks on the inside where they grow all their food. They are fruitarians. Okay? They breathe oxygen like we do. They drink water like we do, but they live off of fruit. And they grow these type of fruits on their craft. They have 20, 30, 40-mile parks on virtually every floor, and along the sides of the parks is where they habitate. There's like apartments all around the circles. And there's wildlife, there's animals, there's birds, things that look like squirrels. There's all these different life forms. They also have a lot of different colors. Because they're fifth density, their color spectrum is 221 colors, where our bandwidth is only 72 here. So it's impossible for me to share with you some of the colors that I've seen, because there's just no way. There's no point of reference for me to share that with you here. They have animals that, well, the closest thing they have is something that looks like a squirrel, but it isn't a squirrel. Okay? But it's very clever, and all the animal life is telepathic. It completely interacts with all of the people there. The children are all telepathic. They do not speak. Very few do. Morine has learned to speak, and that's because of my relationship with him over the last 40 years. He made an effort. Okay, I got way ahead of myself, didn't I? Hey, it's been a while. I'm a little nervous. My relationship with the Andromedans have been primarily with two beings. A very old gentleman, a sage. His skin has gone pale because of his age. His name was Phaseus. They don't really use names, they use symbols, but for the benefit of me, because of our culture and how we like to label things on the planet, his tone, his frequency, his symbol would equate to the word Phaseus. So he was Phaseus. Phaseus was about 4 foot 11, 4 foot 9 tall. Very old. In our years, he was 4,300 years old. So he was like a Yoda, but very stiff, very, It's very stiff. Mornay, on the other hand, is 2,300 years old. He was very young, very strong. He's 7 foot tall, 400 pounds, and he's just perfect. He's loosened up. He's learned to talk. He has a sense of humor. Many of them do, but because they're telepathic, you don't actually hear the jokes. Okay. And you know, and I was very self-conscious in the beginning because sometimes they would look and then they would smile and kind of giggle, and you know they're talking about you, but you just don't know what it is. You know, you can't even eavesdrop. So it's been an extremely interesting experience. I love them. I absolutely love them. They are my brothers. They are my family. And the Andromedan people love us because genetically they're connected to us. And they have been extremely worried about us for a long time. There was at one point a council meeting in Andromeda. It's only held there. They don't run it. It's only held there because it's a central point for many star systems in that part of our galaxy to talk about us. And I think it's noteworthy to tell you about this. I was told about this in the late 80s. But they don't have the same kind of time that we do. So I don't know the exact time that this meeting actually occurred. But they only shared it with me in the 80s when I was living in Malibu. There was a meeting to decide what to do here. There was a great deal of concern about intervening to assist us in our evolution because there were outside influences that were doing everything they could to suppress our evolution. And that's a whole other story. A very large contingency, fortunately, thought that it was in not only their best interest, but in our best interest to at least give us the opportunity to make our own choices without being manipulated. A smaller group made the argument, and this was their argument. They don't respect themselves, they don't respect each other, and they don't respect their home. What is their value? We are so busy with our life and going from here to there to here to there, packing up the kids, going to work, paying our bills, doing the grocery shopping, getting gas in the car. We are so busy with our lives that we rarely ever stop to think about what it is that we're really creating. Sometimes something has to happen, like a 9/11, like the cyclone that just hit Myanmar, the earthquake that hit China, where we're jolted out of our reality and we're able to take a step back and say, whoa, what are we doing? I share that with you because most of humanity is in that place. You know, their heads down and they're just pushing along, plodding along, trying to survive, trying to do everything that we've been doing and our ancestors have been doing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. None of that stuff's going to work anymore. Okay? I know you guys already know that. Okay, the old paradigms are crumbling. They're done. It's just a question of time before they completely collapse and fall. And if you're watching that, if you're watching the world, you're beginning to see it. It's all crumbling. One of the things that the Andromedans are in awe of us about is our ability to create domains of knowing. So what am I talking about? The idea of human rights, the idea of a Bill of Rights, individual liberties, guaranteed rights of a people, how to live and how to be treated. That has not existed on our planet forever. Okay? But we created that. We created the idea of freedom. We created the idea of space travel. We created the idea of free energy. Now, yes, a lot of that has also come from the outside. But the reality is, the reason it's coming from the outside is because we pulled it here. Us. okay, as a collective consciousness. We pulled all that to us. We even pulled the ETs here. And they've been here for a very, very long time. Okay, the worshiping of the gods, Hermes and Titan and yada, yada, yada. Okay? We did that because we are that powerful. We're magnificent. They are absolutely in awe of the ability for people to create music, like our musicians here. They're amazed that they can just pull it out of nowhere. Because the Andromedans, they don't do that. As advanced as they are, they can't do that. What they do is, as they travel through star systems, they have these holographic cameras that take pictures of stars, constellations, planets, and they all have a tone and a frequency. And what they'll do is they'll record that, and then they will overlay those tones and frequencies, and that's how they create their music. All right? They take the music that the universe creates. We, on the other hand, we create our own. We just pull it out of nowhere. Now, it's the Andromedan perspective that we have all outlived our religions 450 years ago. But you know, everybody's looking, everybody's trying to find their own way. And hopefully they will all find it in their time. We do have a window, however. And I know that there's a lot of talk of 2012. I honestly do not know what's going to happen. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen. I don't necessarily know that I want to know. This is quite an adventure. And there is really something very profound about living in the moment. Because then you really pay attention. You're not thinking past it. You're really grateful for the moments that you're in right now and really gratified for those moments that you have. Because time is really the only currency that we have. It's not money, it's time. There's not a minute you can get back. You can always make another $1, but there's not a minute once it's gone that you can get back. I wanted to share with you the definition of who we are supposed to be, or who we're going to become. I've asked this question several times, and finally, Visayas, after much hemming and hawing, agreed to share it with me, who they see us becoming. I asked one time in just pure desperation, you know, what's going to happen to us? And, you know, they've had a hard time with some of my passion and my emotions. I mean, I'm a Terran, and we use them here, not always responsibly, but we do. So I was just like, you know, what is it that you want me to do? Just out of pure frustration. You know, what's going to happen to us? And I just screamed at Visayas. And he just very calmly looked at me, and he goes, this is how we foresee who you will all become. Responsible freedom of self-determination, becoming truly self-confident and free, to unconditionally be responsible for yourself without being coerced by some other authority. Okay? They've said many, many times we are already who we need to be. It's just a question of remembering. And in that remembering, it's about letting go of what we would perceive as mistakes, of regrets. I had a contact in the 90s, and it was at a particular time in my life where just a lot of things weren't going well. And I didn't see any point in even being here. And I was with them on the ship, and I'm like, okay, I'm already in another reality. I just want to stay with you. And that was my request. I just want to stay with you. Don't even bother to take me back. I don't care about anything there. And I literally, with just the clothes on my back, I was ready to go. I was done. Unfortunately, they were not going to allow that to happen. And I was forced to come back. And I'm standing on the ground, and I'm watching them leave, and I'm crying. I'm like, you know, you're abandoning me, and I don't want to be here. And Visayas was at the door, and he just very quietly and in his way telepathically said, Alex, the love that you withhold is the pain that you carry, lifetime after lifetime. And that was a real aha moment, okay? And it was an aha moment because we make decisions like that without ever thinking about them, really. You know, somebody calls us on the phone, hey, I really need to talk to you. I have a situation, and you're like, you know, I've had a crappy day. I can't be bothered with it. And you just don't call them back. Or the kids want to do something, you know, and you know they really want to do it, and you're just too tired, and you say, no, we're not going to do it. And the decision isn't that you could do it. The decision is that you chose not to do it. And maybe those aren't the best examples, but we all have made choices to withhold love. From partners, from family, from ourselves. We've all made those decisions. And those are tough. Those are really, really tough to look at. You know, we've all been there. And being consciously aware of not choosing to withhold love is an amazing feat. And it is not an easy one either. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't remind myself of that. I mean, that was an aha moment that's with me every day now. Doesn't always mean that, you know, I always make the best choices or the right choices. I wanted to share also with you something that they have shared regarding time. No, I'm going to wait on that. On the worship of the isness. Now, one of the first questions that I had for them when I was a little boy, these contacts started when I was 8 years old, and I was vacationing in the upper northern peninsula of Michigan. My family was living in Illinois at the time, Elk Grove Village, Illinois. And my grandparents owned a cabin up near the Woodstock Crooked Lake area of northern Michigan. And we used to go up there every summer. And it was awesome. It was just an awesome place. And the first contact, we had gone out into some fields we had all the family there. It was a big gathering, all the cousins, and we were on a family picnic. And we went up there we went out to this huge field where the picnic area was, and it was very high grass and acorn trees everywhere, chestnut trees, and we went out to play hide and go seek. Because the grass was tall, a lot of us would just lay down on the grass and we would just hang out. Well, that's what I did, and it was, you know, mid-afternoon. I don't know the exact time because, you know, children don't pay attention to that. But when I came back and I realized that I was on the ground, it was nighttime. But what had happened was I had fallen asleep, and the next thing I remember is I am on this table, and there are two gentlemen standing on either side of me, Visayas and Morine. Now, what's interesting is that I had an absolute instant recognition of who they were. And I cannot explain it, other than it was a soul connection. But you know, when you meet somebody, you know, you just know them. It was one of those. And they were very very sensitive. They were very warm. They were very friendly. I didn't feel a moment of fear whatsoever. And I remember them helping me sit up, and I'm just looking, and I'm, well, where am I? And Visaya said, well, you are with us. And I said, well, where's that? And he said, well, you are aboard our craft. We have come back to visit you. And at that point, monitors, the walls were just like this, right here. Okay, but round, circular. There was a light in the room that I simply don't know where it came from because there were no light fixtures whatsoever. The table was just some kind of a metal table with a pad on it, except it was a different type of metal. And all of a sudden, monitors start popping out from the walls, like out of nowhere. Turns out that this is their holographic technology, all this instrumentation. And all of these things were showing me pictures and of things of going on that were going on inside my body. At one point, Visayas reached under the table, pulled out something which looked like a little yarmulke. It was metallic that had a hole in the center. He placed it on my head, and instantly a monitor directly in front of me pulled out of the wall and started showing me scenes, like movie clips, except they were scenes from lifetimes. And as I'm watching this, I am having a profound emotional effect watching this. And I know that that's me. I knew that the past lives that they were showing me were me. And it was me in completely different bodies, extraterrestrial bodies, different life forms, male, female, androgynous, and it was me. And I knew it was me. Ladies and gentlemen, it was profound. It was absolutely profound. They told me that they had come back to visit because genetically, or on a soul level, I was part of them. That I had come here 62,000 years ago as an outpost on Earth and got caught between a skirmish between two other rival extraterrestrial races here, and I was killed. So I had been here for a while, trying to evolve out of this. Or I made choices to be here. I don't exactly know that. Now I know I can't prove any of this to you. But it's real for me. It's totally real for me. And I share that with you because as you're exercising discernment, those of you who are here just exploring, trying to figure it out, you are soul first. Okay, the physicality is the last part of you. You are soul first. And the soul is far wiser than the body will ever be. And I know that. Okay, so that this was very real and is real for me. On December in 1993, a color sound frequency started emanating from all the black holes in the known universe. It's happening on all the levels. This is the Andromedan perspective. This color sound frequency was creating a brand new holographic template over the entire density mass of our universe. Now, apparently, within that holograph, there were conscious beings. The A's do not know who they are, but those that they're talking to, their mentors from higher evolutions or higher densities, have said that they have the ability to be at their level, this 12th density, and look directly down through all the densities. That they have this ability. It is said that this template is literally pulling all of the dimensions up to another higher frequency. And what we're going through here with shifts, with new dimensional shifts, with higher frequencies, with expanded consciousness, So are the other extraterrestrial races. They're going through the exact same thing as we are, but it's different for them. Okay, they're a much more aware consciousness. They probably have not suppressed any of the technology from their people, so they know what's happening. And they are all moving together because of the law of consistency. They are all moving together. They all have the same similar goal, and that's of evolution, okay? Spiritual evolution, and moving together as a race, as a family. They're coming back here to try to help mentor us for that because of who we are, whether we're Batal or not. Okay, we are genetic royalty. I have absolutely no doubt about that. And that in itself is remarkable, especially when you consider when we've lived on this planet, everything that we've been taught about who we are. Religions have punished us profoundly. Science says we're just a pool of chemicals that was created by a mistake. It's remarkable. But we're none of that. We're absolutely none of that. And my guess is that we had this planned all along. We planned this struggle all along to grow, to evolve, to make a statement to the rest of the universe. Okay. I want to share, in their words, some of the things that they've shared with me. I'm going to talk about consciousness. The most necessary action for all of your Terran races who are aware is to do what you are capable of to illuminate your degenerated societies. Consciousness is your scale. It always provides balance, which does not ever fail. It speaks to those who listen and tells them what to do and what not to do. Not to one or all beings who choose to be evolved. The administrators of your government are responsible for professional order, but not your moral codes of order. The key to your happiness, Terrans, is in the hands of your own consciousness. We have perceived that you Terrans have arranged your lives not according to yourselves, but according to others. Your disappointments are due to this fact. This kind of conduct of yours is what is limiting your races. Each one of you is a free soul, a free consciousness. No one is the servant or slave of anyone else, though the hidden ones would trick you to believe otherwise. Mutual respect is imperative for a healed planet and race. Our help is being extended to you if you so want it. Because of your genetic lineages to our races, we would like to be there with you during your difficult times. Today, your planet and your race destroys itself in ignorance. The goal is to recover the genuine human beings lost deep within yourselves, and try to always be at one with yourself. I'm really out of sorts here. Okay. I'm going to share this with you. This is from Morine. This is from 1998. He makes reference to December 3rd, 2013. That was the original number that they felt that, or the original date on our calendar that we would actually be moving into fifth density, that date. All of us, regardless of our form or our dimensional growth, live in a boundless consciousness. It does appear that all things seem to revolve and evolve in cycles. Now, after the blindness of 5,725 years, you and your Terra are about to regain yourselves. It will be such an unprecedented change that it will be difficult for many to grasp their own potential. It is the turning point on your world which none of your planet's forefathers were privileged to ever experience. Can I have just some light? Please? Any light? Any light? Yeah, the ceiling light. Thank you. Okay, that's good. Thank you. That helps me. In Andromeda, one of the things that they stress is creating a race of leaders. In that leadership, everyone has a responsibility to not only be a leader themselves, but to make a leader of everyone else. And in that, everybody moves together. There may be varying different degrees, but everybody moves together. This is something that they have stressed over and over and over again. They've also stressed being as close to nature as possible. You folks here in Hawaii, that's really easy. And you live in an incredible place. For those of us who live on the mainland or in other countries, in big cities, it's much more difficult. I want you to know that we're the only planet that I'm aware of that uses currency. Okay? In fact, I had an experience where Morine and Phaseus had asked me to try to explain to them why we used money, or what they refer to as paper with pictures on it. So I spent a great deal of time in between contacts putting something together for them. And I had a contact. I was living in Malibu at the time up on Decker Canyon, and I had this opportunity to present this information to them. So as I'm presenting it, I'm going through it. I had a paper with me that I was reading it off and had little charts that I'd carried in my backpack. And when it was all over, and of course they already knew this information because they've been watching our history, Phaseus said, "Thank you very much." I mean, Morine said, "Thank you very much. I enjoyed it." But Phaseus just looked at me, and he just had a very straight face. And he just said, "I don't understand." And I said, "Well, what do you not understand?" Now, Phaseus was always telepathic. He never learned to use his vocal cords. He said, "I don't understand why you have to live, why you have to pay to live on a planet you were born on. Why do you have to pay to live on a planet you were born on?" That haunted me for many years, that statement. Because, how do we unravel that? What do we create in order to drop that paradigm? And how do we create it? Who's going to step up and say, "You know what? We have fought wars over money. We have fought wars over gold. We have fought wars over this and fought wars over that. We have nearly destroyed the planet. We have destroyed species. We're destroying humanity. And it's all over power, wealth, and things like that." How do we move from this paradigm to the next paradigm? How do we do it? I know that there are a lot of folks trying, making suggestions, talking to people, sharing their perspectives. I know there are a lot of contactees or folks, there are hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands, who have not come forward yet. The extraterrestrial civilizations have given up on the governments of the world, of Earth, a long time ago. The only ones that are actually fully integrating with a lot of the Earth governments, you don't really want to meet anyway. So how do we find our soul again? What does it take to change the essence of a man? Is there a phrase? Is there a mantra? Is there a prayer? Is there an event? You know, what does it take to change the essence of a man or a woman? I don't have that answer, but I am asking the question, and I have been for a long time. Many of us, and I'm not necessarily referring to the folks in the room here, many of us have completely lost our way. We know a lot of good people who would do anything for us as friends, but they simply don't have a clue. We want them to be aware of the changes that are coming, and you can put all this information in front of them and they're simply going to just dismiss it because it's too overwhelming to them. You know, they have to take it in little bites and little slices. They just simply don't want to deal with it because they're so overwhelmed just trying to manage a life that already doesn't work, okay, or they're not already happy with, because it's all that they know, and they're afraid to let it go because they don't have anything else to believe in, just what it is that they do every day. So in creating a new domain of knowing and asking the question, what is it that we want? It has to be something that everybody can take hold of a piece of. For example, every day there are little things that we could do to begin shifting our consciousness. Every day when we get up, the first thing we should do is be grateful that we're alive to see another day. And just make that acknowledgement. Spirit, thank you. Always tell your children that you love them. Every day. Tell them that you're proud of them. Always tell your wife that you love her, or your partner that you love her. Always be friendly and cordial at the office. Okay? When you hear an ambulance drive by, just say a blessing. Say, I bless whoever that's for, and that their highest good is what is achieved. Little things like that. When you walk into a room, just say, I bless this room. Little things like that make all the difference. Because it's conscious intent that every day when you do things like that, and that's all, those things are easy to do, all right? Is what you do is you begin to polarize. You begin to magnetize those spaces with your thoughts. And whatever you magnetize and you put out, it will come back. It will be mirrored back to you. That's why Earth is boot camp for the soul. It's because that's what it does. It mirrors our shit back to us. You know? And the more shit, the more shit. Okay? And that's why it's so overwhelming after a while. So it's little things. You know, and I share that because these are things that, you know, I've had to try to do, and I struggle to remember them every day. You know, but these are little things that I can do. You know, I bless my food, you bless your coffee. What you do is you just get into a space of blessing everything. And it does, in fact, change the frequency. It will change the people that you work with. It might take a little bit of a while, but these are simple things. It's just, you know, like the movie The Secret said, it's an attitude of gratitude. Okay? But they're just little things that you can remember to do every day. At lunchtime, go for a walk. Don't sit in your cubicle, but go for a walk. Go outside. When you go to the bathroom, if you work in an office, when you're done, instead of going right back into your office to your cubicle, go downstairs, go outside, loop around the building, and come back in. Just give yourself a break. Just remember where you are. Don't get stuck in just being so in a rut that you forget, because it's easy. That's why we're so stuck on Earth. And the extraterrestrials, the visitations, the psychic phenomena, the paranormal phenomena, all of that stuff, ladies and gentlemen, is us. It's all happening to us because it is us. They're all reminders of who we are. All we have to do is get out of our own way. I want to share with you some things. I've shared with you the Andromedan perspective about who we are. I want you to know that Earth has been an experiment for a very, very long time. Every life form that's here has come from a different planet, different star system, in some cases even from different universe or galaxies. And what's happened is that each one of the life forms on this planet, virtually most of them, have been genetically altered to live in our ecosystem. Okay, an Earth environment, E-type, is actually very rare. This is not the norm. This is a very complicated ecosystem that we live on. Many of the creatures on our world would be found in other planets, other star systems, in methane, on methane planets, hydrogen planets, carbon, all different kinds of chemical components that we haven't even discovered yet, that these life forms live in. But as travelers travel through space, what they'll do is they'll pick up these life forms. They will collect DNA. And then what they'll do is they'll experiment with it. They'll try to recreate these life forms, just like we are at a place of doing now. This is not new. Civilizations have been doing this forever, okay, to try to improve or to see what happens. Earth is magnificent, absolutely magnificent. And many of the extraterrestrial races that have talked to the Andromedans have just been beside themselves at how bad it's gotten. They just don't understand why we, as a race, would allow any of our governments to use technology that they know is harmful to the planet. They just don't get it. And like the clip said, now is the time. Now is definitely the time to make some changes. And I know you guys are. You know, I know you're so dedicated that you've made the time and put the resources together to come here to hear the speakers, to make the changes within yourself, to share this stuff with your friends and share the DVDs. I know that. But like I said, these tapes, these DVDs have a life of their own. They go other places. Thank you. I want you to know that I am really, really proud of you. And I'm really proud of us. And I know that we have not shown our qualities as a race on this planet through our history. But I also know that when the chips are down, that most people will stand up and they will do the right thing. I know that. And I truly feel that. And that has been my argument with the A's and my stand with the A's all along. We have an opportunity here to create a new paradigm, a new domain of knowing. It just takes leadership. It takes foresight. It takes, it's going to take the ability for you to communicate to your friends and your family when everything really, really starts to fall apart. And we're beginning to see it now. The world's global economy is having a lot of ripples, a lot of effects, a lot of changes. Here in the United States, we will be the first, as usual, to experience a lot of that stuff. Okay, but you're going to be the leaders. You're going to be the ones that are going to stand there in your communities and say, look, this is what's been going on, this is what it is, and this is what we have to do. It's no accident that you are who you are. Okay, we've all volunteered for this. And my suggestion is the next time they ask us to do this, we really read the fine print on those contracts. Okay? Because I don't remember being this hard. I vaguely remember something about a walk in the park and okay. We have just a few more minutes, and I was wondering if anybody had any questions. Okay. My understanding is that in the Andromedan culture, they have reincarnation as well. But in their culture, when a soul crosses over, it has full memory of who it is when it comes back into the physical. Again, it's that law of consistency. We don't have that. And again, I believe that's that fine print on the contract. Reincarnation is still a fact here as well. Okay, we do have reincarnation. What virtually all the other cultures do, that's a great question, what virtually all the other cultures do is that they have a very small government, and basically everything's managed by the people. Everything is provided, education, housing, everything that you would need to live is there. In turn for that, you participate in doing several years of learning how to grow food, horticulture, of managing livestock, dealing with nature, building machinery, building spacecraft, learning astronomy, planetary astronomy. You would participate in all of those fields, and as you're participating, and you're not only getting an education, but you're also contributing, all of your needs are met. Everything is there, and each generation contributes, and it just works out perfectly. It's almost like a utopian society. Nobody has to pay for anything. It just doesn't happen. My understanding is that the park areas, all of that is created using holographic technology. If you're in this craft and you move into one of these park areas, you literally have no idea you're in a spaceship. Mm-hmm. And you would never know you were in a spaceship. Yeah. I mean, they could create a Hawaii in the middle of these motherships. Mm-hmm. And you would think you were in Hawaii. You would not know unless you consciously were aware that you had walked into the ship, walked upstairs, took in elevators, what they call elevators, well, we would call elevators, to different levels, and then walked out into the park area in the spaceship as you're traveling through space. It is the most phenomenal thing mm-hmm. that you could possibly experience. Yeah. It's awe-inspiring. Yeah. You know, it's just...
And they're using their thoughts to bring that matter together and so it becomes solid in front of you like a flower. Yes, thank you.
Yes, they magnetize thought. They magnetize space with their thought.